Somebody recommended this, how to be stoic during an argument. So this is from Charisma on Command. I believe it's a conversation or it's a video about Lex Friedman, the way that he had the conversation with Kanye West. And I'm interested in this because I like Lex Friedman a lot. So this is what I want to watch next. I really respect the guy. I think he's an incredibly intelligent guy, and he also taps into like an emotional intelligence that I really appreciate a lot, which is a little refreshing. You don't see a lot of people, I don't know, articulate that emotional intelligence. So I like the guy a lot. So let's watch it.
Ye has been doing interviews recently, and they have not all gone well. Ye has been doing interviews recently, and they have not all gone well.
Hey,
we should stop calling him Ye then and start calling him Boo. Am I right?
bro, I ain't finished my sentence.
Nothing you're saying has anything to do with...
It's not uncommon for someone to get frustrated in a disagreement. What's rare is for you to argue with someone and have them walk away liking you more. But that's exactly what happened in the conversation between Ye and Lex Friedman. So in today's video, we'll break down that conversation.
Yeah, it seems like Lex was going for like the long game. It's like, yeah, I like you a lot, I respect you a lot, and I don't like the path that you're going down. And I think that I respected that. There were times where I felt like I didn't like the conversation. I still love Lex, but that conversation actually turned me on to him, which is interesting. You know, some of the stuff around his ex-wife, Kanye's ex-wife, was a little bizarre in the way that he talks about her. It feels a little obsessive, and like it's, of course, Lex doesn't call it out, but he was there mostly for the anti-Semitism from Kanye West.
To show you 8 tips to change someone's mind and have them love you for it. First, let's start with 2 common mistakes you have to avoid if you want to be persuasive. Here's a quick example of mistake number 1.
Now tell me this. Have you seen the Candace Owens BLM documentary?
I have watched some of that documentary, but here's what I would say to you. When you watch that video of George Floyd...
No, it's not a but. It's not.
I haven't watched the whole thing.
Ye clearly wants to say something about that documentary. That question was a tee-up. When you transition away from a topic without first listening to what the other person wants to say, it can make them feel like you don't value their thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I mean, I guess you'd have to like personalize. Like, if he asked me that question, I would say, like, no, I haven't watched it, but like, what do you think about it? That's one of the things that's interesting. There's not a lot of people who have conversations who will like ask somebody something and then sit down and like listen to it and absorb it and just like relax a little bit. A lot of and these are the worst conversations, are like fire, boom, 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 boom. Those don't turn. I don't like those conversations. Those aren't stimulating to me. Argumentative conversations about topics. I don't like debaters. I don't like people who are more interested in winning the conversation than they are with having an honest conversation. I don't I have difficulty respecting people like that. That, like, especially when like they know that they're incorrect, but they still argue because they want to be right. I don't really respect debaters, you know?
The ultimate form of this is mistake number 2, cutting someone off. This is what starts the conflict between Piers and Ye.
I need you to watch.
I know. I know what you said about... I know Candace.
I'm going to finish. La, la,
it's all right.
La.
You don't have to do that. I know what it means.
La, la, la means be quiet and let me finish.
But you did interrupt my question.
So,
almost every heated argument starts when you stop listening or empathizing with the other person. So if you want to disagree with someone without it turning into a fight, the first step is to listen deeply and make the other person feel heard. Lex does this in a very overt way.
Do you think I would trust anybody at this point in my life?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. I hear you.
I hear you. 3 powerful words, especially when someone is sharing a negative feeling. For more complex ideas, a great way to make someone feel heard is with...
Yeah, see, I didn't watch that conversation between, what's that fucking idiot's name? Piers Morgan. Yeah. I always think of Piers 1. I didn't watch that conversation. So I can't speak to it specifically. It's possible that, like, you know, Kanye was being very argumentative and dismissive in his own way, and they're going back and forth. What I do know is I watched Pierce's conversation with Andrew Tate, and I fell for this. And he had the conversation, which I think is fine. And then he edited about 20 minutes of it out, and I didn't notice it. And I watched the edited version instead of the unedited version. And that made me like very frustrated, because I remember watching a clip before that where he tried to blame the tragic, I think it was suicide of a young girl who had succumbed to social media pressures, and it had nothing to do with Andrew Tate. It seemed like it was in the opposite direction. And I was like, wow, that's really shitty. And then I watched it, the full thing. That was the preview, and that wasn't in it. And I didn't think about it until after. I'm like, wait a minute, where's this? And this motherfucker had the conversation and cut stuff out. to make him seem more victorious. And so, like, I don't really have a lot of respect for Piers. I don't think it's like it's possible he was just there for a dunk, which is obviously just pathetic. You know, you're supposed to be there to have the positive conversation and you know, or as positive as you possibly can have in that case, you know.
Positive paraphrasing. Repeat back what they've said accurately in a way they'll agree with.
When you've allowed people to be in your life that shouldn't be there, and then they do the thing you knew they were going to do, and you're screaming at them, but you really need to scream at yourself.
Yeah, so you realize anything that's like anger or frustration, that's something that's wrong with you that needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
Making someone feel heard is an important part of any conversation. So now let's get into how to command respect specifically in a disagreement. Here's a quick example where Ye says something Lex disagrees with.
A Jewish friend of mine said, "Oh, go visit the Holocaust Museum." And my response was, "Let's visit our Holocaust Museum, Planned Parenthood."
The first step when you want to disagree is to use a calm, slow voice.
With all due respect, I grew up in the Soviet Union. I'm Jewish. Parts of my family perished in the Holocaust of Nazi Germany. I have to push back.
How your argument is received is not just about what you say, but how you say it, specifically
Sure.
your speed and volume. Listen to these next two clips. Who would you rather argue with, Ye or Lex?
Or why?
And like realistically speaking too, you kind of have to like know the person you're having a conversation with. Kanye is a genuine person. I don't think anybody can take that away from him. Kanye is a very genuine person. I just don't think that he is particularly good at talking to people. But if you're an interviewer, that's the thing. If you're an interviewer, you kind of you have to have the responsibility of putting somebody in a situation that's like comfortable for them. You have to have like a decent identify them in a sense, but you have to have your goal. So it seems like Piers Morgan's goal, from what I've seen, and again, it's limited, so I'm not going to, because I've only seen like his Andrew Tate conversation. I was very turned off to that. His goal seems to be content and sensationalization over effectiveness, right? Whereas Lex's goal truly just seems to be to get Kanye to disengage with a lot of the anti-Semitism, the downplay of the Holocaust. That was one of the examples. The ideology that like all Jewish people in some capacity are to blame for, you know, some of the bad Jewish people that he's met, right? And I think that he did a good job at starting that, because you don't change your mind in a day. It takes you a while. I could be wrong about this, but I remember I had the conversation with Abba, and it was myself, Destiny, a bunch of other people. But people were like, hey, Papa God, I watched his No Jumper. And it's like about a half hour in, they talk about fatphobia in a way where it seems like he's changed his tune a little bit on his perspective back then. And so, like, I didn't watch it. I'm probably not going to watch it. Not in like a disrespectful way. It just doesn't like particularly interest me. But like, hey, that's the goal, right? Is to like maybe have a slight impact 3 weeks later, you know? So
Why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
How,
In fact,
Sway?
you take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Kanye.
You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers, Sway.
The most dangerous place
Jesus Christ, he's just yelling at Sway. Sway doesn't even be disrespectful.
for a black person in America is in their mother's stomach.
900 to 1 million abortions in the United States a year. I hear you. But there's something about the rape, the torture, the murder.
This advice is most useful when something triggers you. If you feel yourself getting angry, let that be your cue to pause, take a breath, and use a calm, slow voice. For example, a few days before the conversation with Lex, Ye tweeted, "When I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people."
I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who goes opposes your agenda. Jesus Christ. You guys? You're talking about Jewish people? Oh my God.
Then throughout the conversation, Ye has been talking about the evils of the media, and he insists on calling it the Jewish media. This frustrates Lex, but listen to how he responds.
Don't say Jewish media and Jewish controlled media.
JM.
Like, man, you sound like it sounds too much like 1930s Nazi Germany.
That last clip has another great habit. If you're going to criticize.
Well, I like that too. So
Too much like 1930s Nazi Germany.
I think one thing that people should understand when you're having a conversation with somebody is that it is okay to get angry and it's okay to express that anger, but you need to express that anger in a constructive way. So Lex is getting very frustrated that Kanye is boiling down media to Jewish media and pushing this narrative that Jewish people control the media and that they control the world in some capacity. That's a lot of anti-Semitic talk. That's the kind of shit that leads to the Holocaust or led to the Holocaust. But you can't yell because you'll become less effective. But what you can do is you can express that and just say, like, you're really sounding like one of the worst people in human history. I think a lot of times, and I think in this situation, it's another thing to give Kanye West credit for, is that he's picking up on the fact that he's disrespecting somebody who's been very respectful to him in this case. And he's like, oh, you almost take a step back and you're like, fuck, and I think that's a positive thing, because it's good to let people know when you're angry. It's not good to have a disproportionate response for the situation. That's your problem. A lot of people who get angry, they're justified. It's the response that is not justifiable. There's healthy ways to express your anger. And Kanye is very, it seems like he's saying it in almost like a lackadaisical manner. The Jewish media, and Lex like, no, this is very personally offensive to me because I'm a Jewish person and I'm affording you a level of respect that you haven't been gotten from like any other a person that's having a conversation with you.
That last clip has another great habit. If you're going to criticize specific behavior. Listen here for another example.
And when you say Jewish media, it's funny how this world works that way. When you say Jewish media, there's a large number of people that are hurting and have anger and even have hate in their heart when they hear Jewish media. That hate starts being directed towards the Jewish people.
Lex doesn't call Ye racist or anti-Semitic. He criticizes the specific actions he didn't like. If you want to persuade someone,
well, no, it's not that he didn't just criticize the specific action. What he did was he gave a considerable amount of charitability to Kanye West's perspective on Jewish media. So what he did in that message is he did very effectively, I think, is what he said is like, when you say Jewish media, it's a dog whistle for a lot of people to get very upset and frustrated and target hate to the Jewish people. And the subtext of that was, even if you don't have hatred in your heart for Jewish people, and you might be stating something you feel, it does, other people will listen to you and go and interpret it in a way that is very bad. Now, I think Kanye West does have some hatred in his heart for Jewish people, though I think he has less so after that conversation. But especially as a large, very, very influential person, Kanye West is arguably one of the most influential people in the world. You have to be very careful about what you say. Because let's say that Kanye West was just saying that the Jewish people had disproportionate representation, which is a true thing. You understand that when you say that, some people, like myself, and it's in a questionable way. And I think that it has a lot to do with historical. Just so you guys knew, like back in the day, Jewish people handled a lot of money, because it was seen dirty to like Christians, Catholics, whatever, to handle money. And so Jewish people handled money, and then they got rich from that. And I think that maybe some of the representation that Jewish people have is because of that. I think in America, Jewish people happen to be the whitest minority, which I know sounds bizarre. And they were able to, unfortunately, take advantage of, like every other group of people, Black and other people of color, but not because they're Jewish, but just because they happen to be white. And then it potentially leads up to some disproportionate representation. There's very strong family units in the Jewish community as well. There's a lot of different stuff. There's like a lot of different nuanced factors as to why Jewish people may be disproportionately represented in a higher capacity, but it's not because they are inherently better. Some of it has an echo from the past of being oppressed, doing jobs that, like I said, like being bankers, that was considered a dirty job back in the day. But other people can interpret what I said the factoid that like Jewish people do seem to represent a higher or disproportionately represent different affluent areas, and they could be like, yeah, see, Jewish media, they control the world and we need to hurt these people. So to be very careful about what you say, and that was what Lex did there, and it was communicated very well. It wasn't super explicit, but I think Kanye could read between the lines and listen to what Lex was saying, which was fundamentally like, you're pushing a hateful idea that hurts me. you know? And if Kanye is a person, which he very clearly is, that will upset him to hurt somebody that is respecting him, especially in the moment, right?
Have to avoid the far too common mistake of negatively labeling the entire person. Imagine how you would feel to be peers in these next clips.
No, you're a liar. You're pressing the agenda. You're being a Karen.
When you label the entire person as bad, they're likely to dig in and become hard to persuade. If someone already seems dug in, there is something you can do to help them become more receptive to new ideas. When you agree
Hey, give him a shovel.
with them, tell them.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's well put. It's really well put. I agree.
Most people make a common mistake. They keep their positive thoughts to themselves and say their negative thoughts out loud.
It's fair.
Sharing when you agree helps build rapport. As you'll see in this next clip, it's also a great way to diffuse anger. For context, just so the clip makes sense, Ye previously said he doesn't like BLM and thinks the organization used George Floyd's death for their own benefit.
You should find people in your life you can trust.
Don't tell me what I should do. I'm not one of your BLM marchers.
Listen, I'm with you on the BLM. A lot of organizations use tragedy. And I watched the Candace Owens documentary.
And what was your take on it?
Now, sometimes you truly struggle to agree with anything the other person is saying, but no matter what your disagreement is, you can almost always express empathy. For example, Lex hates what Ye said about Jewish people, but he can still express empathy for how hard things must be for Ye right now because of that tweet. And notice how this improves Ye's mood.
You're under a lot of attack by a lot of people. You have a vision and you're trying to feel your way through it, and you might get destroyed for it. That's the human, that's the risk you take.
It's a wonderful life, though.
Expressing empathy is a great way to strengthen your connection to someone, even in an argument. It can also help that person extend empathy back to you. And seeing things from each other's perspective is often all it takes to transform a heated argument into a calm collaboration. This is especially powerful when you combine it with another habit. Be vulnerable when you feel a negative emotion. Let's look at an example where Ye says something potentially upsetting to Lex.
Because I hope I'm somebody you can trust.
I don't fucking trust you.
In Lex's position, most people would get angry or defensive. Instead,
I would just be confused. I don't know if I get angry or defensive, but I could see why you would. Lex had a very interesting response to this, and I remember because it stuck out to me. He's like, that upset me because I want to be somebody you could trust. It was basically what he said.
Lex and Ye talk for a few more minutes, and then Lex says this.
But I got to tell you, I have to be honest. This is silly because you don't know me, but it hurt when you say you don't trust me. You kind of lost me.
Honest vulnerability is rare and very likely to make the other person respect you more. It also helps build trust because you're sharing something that most people would try to hide. In this particular conversation, it actually helps Ye see himself trusting Lex one day.
It could hurt you. It could help you. It could also hurt you. This is the problem. Well, and this is one of the things. This is why I give Kanye credit. Being a little bit emotionally vulnerable isn't a bad thing. To trust somebody with your emotions a little bit. You shouldn't be going around trusting everybody with all your emotions. But sometimes it can backfire and make you feel a little silly. But you have to be confident in like how much you can release. You know, like when I had that conversation with Duff Noodles, I think this is a great one. We got to a point, I'm not going to talk about the specifics, but he was mocking a situation that was very personal to me, very upsetting to me. And I got to a point where I asked him if he's ever loved somebody before. And of course, the people there were younger, and they thought that was a silly thing to ask. But I still stand by that question because I don't know how somebody could mock the thing that he was mocking, but also understand what it's like to love somebody. And it was a real question, and it was an emotionally vulnerable question. And I wanted him to answer, and we couldn't get that. You know? But it's a very important question because we're having a conversation about an emotional topic, and so to try to be fully logical, I think it comes from a place of ignorance, and a lot of the ignorance I think is in, and then it's unfortunate because it almost sounds invalidating, but it comes from a lack of age and life experience. It's a big thing, you know, and it's so unfortunate. It always sounds condescending, but like some people aren't going to understand until they're older. You know, you're just not going to get it till you're a bit older, and you understand in a more personal way. You know,
it's like I could be turning my thing from a potential world vision to a code, or I could be opening up conversations with new friends that I may trust someday.
If you do everything we've covered so far, it's likely you'll form strong connections even during disagreements. And with that connection, you'll often see the other person try to use humor to take little breaks in the argument. A little way to say, hey, we may be arguing, but I don't hate you for it. When you feel it's appropriate, try to accept these playful breaks. For example, this next clip is a bit of an awkward forced joke, but you can see Ye loves that Lex played along.
People, just in general, they love me so much. I'm like actually a hard guy to really hate for a long period of time, just because of my huge cock. And
that's what I noticed.
It was such a very cringe joke, and Lex's response was so cringy too. I remember this. I remember the feeling.
I didn't understand why you showed it to me when we first met, but now I understand.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Congratulations.
Ye also tried to joke with Piers, but Piers steamrolled it, so they went right back to arguing.
No, I said answer my question. No, I'm interviewing you too.
Well, you can't interview me. It's my interview.
You're Bono. I'm interviewing you too. See, that's the way we rap.
Let me just,
You know what I'm saying?
let me just put this to you.
So no. You're trying to avoid. You're trying to avoid something.
The last habit we'll cover today is arguably the strongest thing in this entire video. If you want to influence someone, give them a reputation they like and will want to live up to. Both Piers and Lex want to guide Ye to the same conclusion. You shouldn't vilify an entire group because of the actions of a few people. Yeah.
Listen, I can't speak I can't speak too specifically. But what I will say is that I don't know if that was necessarily Piers Morgan's goal. If I'm being like charitable, maybe it was. It feels like there's a secondary goal there as well to kind of put him on the spot in a way that would look good for a clip. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm just being skeptical. I don't get that with Lex. Something I appreciate. Something I appreciate a lot from that guy.
Ye argues with them both that he shouldn't have to apologize for hurting Jewish people because he himself is hurt and no one has apologized to him.
Have you felt my pain yet? You haven't felt my pain.
I don't have to feel your pain because I also have pain too that's not being recognized.
Now watch how Piers responds to Ye's pain. It does not make Ye apologetic.
That doesn't change the fact that when you insult the Jewish people and say you're going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people, that is as racist as anything you say you've been through and any pain that you've experienced. It's the same thing. Racism is racism.
He's not necessarily wrong. Yeah.
And you know that, I think, don't you?
Yeah, obviously. That's why I said it.
Piers is right, but when you're...
That guy is just like casually, yep, I'm racist because they hate me. It's like, okay, I guess that's something.
In an argument, just being logically correct won't often change how someone feels. That's a common misconception people have. Being correct is not the same as being persuasive. Now, listen to how Lex responds to Ye's pain.
A great man still, through the pain, does the right thing.
Lex knows that Ye wants to be a great man, so he gives him this reputation to live up to.
As somebody who cares for you and hopefully can be a friend, Ye, I gotta say, these words and the words about Jews is not the words of a samurai. Of a great man.
Here's a different example from later in the conversation. Instead of simply saying you shouldn't be hateful, Lex again describes Ye in a way Ye likely wants to live up to.
You have the skill and the capacity to really add love to the world, and I hope you do that. But I can tell you're a man that has love in his heart, and I hear that. I hear it through the words explicitly and implicitly. And I think if we're to engineer a better future, the way to do that is with love.
This is what finally persuades Ye to give a heartfelt apology.
So before God, what I would do is start off as a samurai and say, I'm sorry for her.
A samurai. Isn't that weird? Black people love fucking anime, dude. I'm just saying. The writing's all over the place. Fucking samurai.
Hurting you as a Jewish person. I'm sorry for the way that made you feel. And I'm sorry for the entire population of a race that I feel is actually my brothers.
At the end, they reach an agreement that we can hopefully all agree with. We want to live in a world filled with love, not hate. As Lex said, if we're to engineer a better future, the way to do it is with love. So to that end, Charlie and I have donated $250,000 from Charisma on Command to Charity Water.
Jesus.
Because we want to live in a world where we all love and take care of each other. Through Charity Water, every $40 donated gets someone access to clean water for 10 years. Yes, the amount of money that some people spend on food in one day, you can give someone clean water for 10 years who otherwise wouldn't have it. Whether you donate or not, please know that we couldn't have made our donation without you. However you support our channel, whether it's watching our videos or joining Charisma University, you are the reason that over 6,000 people will have access to clean water. So thank you for helping us make the world a better place. If you feel inspired to help even more, you can go to charitywater.org.
What the hell are they wasting it for?
/charisma to donate. Even a $1 donation makes a difference. It helps get people clean water, and it shows the world that there are good people who care about each other. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
All right, cool. I like that video.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.